People don't usually stop scrolling because of wisdom. They stop because something inside them feels grabbed. A sentence that shakes their attention. A feeling that says, wait. This matters. That's why this message matters. Not because of shock, not because of fear, but because most lives are quietly kidnapped every single day, and almost nobody notices until years are gone. This is not about a crime you see on the news. This is about the slow, invisible kidnapping of your time, your confidence, your dreams, your courage, and your future. It happens politely. It happens legally. It happens with your permission. And if you don't skip this message, you might catch it before it goes wrong. At first, everything seems normal. Life looks familiar. You wake up, check your phone, respond to what others want from you, do what is expected, repeat yesterday with minor changes. Nothing feels dangerous. That's the trick. Real danger rarely announces itself. It blends in. It waits until comfort replaces curiosity, until routine replaces intention. Most people think losing their life will be dramatic. They imagine one big mistake, one tragic event. But the truth is more uncomfortable. Lives are lost in small installments. 10 minutes wasted here. One brave thought ignored there. One "I'll do it tomorrow" repeated until tomorrow quietly disappears. You don't feel kidnapped because the doors aren't locked. You can leave any time, in theory. But in reality, fear sits in the driver's seat. Fear of judgment. Fear of failure. Fear of being seen. Fear of being different. Fear of starting again. And fear is a very patient captor. What makes this kidnapping successful is that it doesn't feel like force. It feels like logic. This is just how life is. Be realistic. Don't risk too much. Others have it worse. These sentences sound reasonable. They sound mature. They sound responsible. But they slowly build a cage so comfortable that escaping feels irresponsible. You tell yourself you'll focus on your dreams after things settle down. But things never fully settle. There is always another responsibility. Another delay, another reason to wait. And waiting feels safe. Waiting feels smart. Waiting feels like control. Until one day you realize waiting has taken more from you than any failure ever could. This is where most kidnappings go wrong. Not for the captor, but for the captive. Because the longer you stay, the more you start defending the cage. You explain it. You justify it. You convince yourself it's what you wanted all along. That's when escape feels like betrayal, betrayal of the life you built. Even if it's not the life you wanted, deep down, you already know something is off. You feel it in quiet moments. Late at night. Early in the morning. When distractions fade and honesty gets louder. There's a restlessness that doesn't go away with sleep. A dissatisfaction that comfort can't fix. A sense that you are capable of more, but somehow stuck doing less. That feeling is not ungratefulness. It's not weakness. It's not immaturity. It's a signal. A warning. A message from the part of you that refuses to disappear quietly. Most people silence that voice. They drown it in noise, entertainment, comparison, productivity without purpose. They stay busy so they don't have to listen. Busy is another lock on the door. The world rewards busy. It applauds exhaustion. It mistakes movement for progress, but progress requires direction. And direction requires honesty. Honesty about what you want. Honesty about what scares you. Honesty about what you've been avoiding. This is the moment where skipping the message becomes tempting. Because honesty is uncomfortable. It asks questions you can't unhear. Questions like, if nothing changed, would I be okay with this life 5 years from now? Am I building something, or just maintaining something? If I were truly brave, what would I try? These questions don't kidnap you. They free you. But freedom feels dangerous when you've been safe for too long. The biggest lie is that you need permission. From parents. From society. From timing. From confidence. You don't. Permission is a story fear tells to stay in control. Confidence doesn't come before action. It comes from surviving action. Timing is never perfect. It's just now or not now. You might think this message is telling you to quit everything, burn bridges, make reckless choices. It's not. Recklessness is another distraction. This is about intention. About choosing, consciously, instead of drifting unconsciously. Even small choices matter. Speaking up once. Trying one idea. Protecting 1 hour of your day. Saying no when you mean no. Saying yes when your heart says yes. Even if your hands shake. Kidnappings fail when the captive refuses to cooperate. When they stop numbing themselves. When they stop pretending everything is fine. When they stop living on autopilot. You don't have to see the entire path. You just have to stop walking in the wrong direction. There will be resistance. From others. From yourself. Change threatens the comfort of everyone around you. When you grow, you remind people of what they avoided. Not everyone will clap. Some will question you. Some will minimize your goals. Some will project their fears onto your choices. That doesn't mean you're wrong. It means you're moving. The hardest part is not starting. It's staying honest when progress is slow. When results don't come immediately. When doubt whispers that you were safer before. That's when most people return to the cage, because at least it's familiar, but familiar is not the same as fulfilled. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not late. You are just early in your honesty. Life does not need to be extreme to be meaningful. It needs to be aligned. Aligned with what matters to you. Aligned with your values. Aligned with the version of yourself you respect when no one is watching. This message is not here to scare you. It's here to remind you that your attention is valuable, your time is limited, and your life is not a rehearsal. The cost of staying stuck is higher than the cost of trying. You don't need to become someone else. You need to stop abandoning who you already are. The kidnapping only works if you keep looking away. If you keep numbing the discomfort. If you keep choosing short-term ease over long-term meaning. And the escape doesn't require dramatic courage. It requires consistent honesty. One choice at a time. One brave moment stacked on another. Don't wait for clarity. Move, and clarity will follow. Don't wait for motivation. Act, and motivation will catch up. Don't wait for fear to disappear. Carry it with you and go anyway. If you skip this message, nothing bad will happen today. Or tomorrow. Or next week. That's why it's dangerous. The consequences are quiet. They arrive slowly. They look like years passing faster than they should. Like potential shrinking instead of expanding. Like regret disguised as acceptance. But if you don't skip it, if you let it sit with you, challenge you, unsettle you, you might interrupt the pattern. You might ask a better question. You might make a different choice. And that's how kidnappings fail. Not with force. With awareness, your life is still yours. For now, and here's the part most messages avoid telling you, because it's inconvenient and it doesn't sell comfort. Awareness alone is not enough. Awareness without action becomes another trap. You read something powerful, you feel seen, you nod, you save it, maybe even share it, and then you return to the same patterns. That's how the kidnapping adapts. It lets you feel inspired just enough to stay still. Real change begins when inspiration becomes interruption. An interruption to how you spend your mornings. An interruption to how you talk to yourself. An interruption to what you tolerate. An interruption to who gets access to your energy. The kidnapping doesn't survive interruption. Right now, there is at least one thing in your life you already know you should stop doing. And at least one thing you already know you should start. You don't need another sign. You don't need more information. You don't need to wait until you feel ready. Readiness is a myth invented to delay discomfort. The truth is, most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they keep negotiating with fear. They keep asking it for permission. And fear is a terrible negotiator. It always asks for more. Just wait a little longer. Just be safer. Just don't stand out. Just survive for now. Survival mode is useful in emergencies. But living in it for years slowly erases who you are. You stop dreaming in full color. You stop imagining big futures. You stop expecting more from yourself. And one day, you look in the mirror and see someone who looks capable, responsible, functional, and deeply unfulfilled. That's not laziness. That's not weakness. That's exhaustion from living a life that isn't yours. You were not designed to merely cope. You were designed to create, to grow, to stretch, to contribute something that didn't exist before you showed up. When you ignore that, your mind rebels. Your body rebels. Your spirit rebels. It shows up as burnout, distraction, irritability, emptiness, or a constant feeling that something is missing but you can't name it. That something is ownership, ownership of your choices, ownership of your time, ownership of your direction. No one is coming to rescue you from a life you didn't choose. And that sounds harsh, until you realize how empowering it is. Because it means the same door that trapped you can also be opened by you, not all at once. Not dramatically. But deliberately. You don't need to escape everything today. You need to stop surrendering everything today. Stop surrendering your mornings to your phone. Stop surrendering your evenings to exhaustion without intention. Stop surrendering your voice in rooms where you matter. Stop surrendering your dreams to people who don't carry their own. You might lose some approval when you change. That's the tax. Approval is cheap when it costs you yourself. There will be moments when the old life tries to pull you back. When comfort whispers, "Why are you making this harder than it needs to be?" But meaningful lives are not built by ease alone. They're built by choosing what's right over what's familiar. You are allowed to outgrow who you were. You are allowed to want more. You are allowed to rewrite the story. Even if others preferred the old version because it made them comfortable, this message isn't asking you to be fearless. It's asking you to be honest enough to move while afraid. Fear doesn't mean stop, fear means this matters. The kidnapping ends the moment you decide that your future deserves more respect than your excuses, and that decision doesn't need applause. It just needs commitment, quiet commitment, daily commitment, unseen commitment, because the most powerful transformations happen silently, long before anyone notices. Don't announce your escape, live it, and one day, without realizing when it happened, you'll look back and recognize the moment things changed. Not because life became easy, but because it finally became yours. There is something else that happens when you begin to reclaim your life, and almost no one prepares you for it. The silence. When you stop numbing yourself, the noise fades. When you stop running, the echoes catch up. Old regrets. Old dreams. Old versions of you that you buried because they didn't fit the plan. At first, that silence can feel heavy. You might mistake it for emptiness. It's not. It's space. Space you forgot existed, and space is dangerous to a kidnapping, because in space, you start hearing your own thoughts again. Not the borrowed ones. Not the recycled opinions. Not the expectations disguised as advice. Your own. Clearer. Sharper. Sometimes uncomfortable. But real. This is where many people panic and turn back. They rush to fill the quiet with distractions, relationships, noise, work, anything to avoid facing themselves. But if you stay, if you don't flinch, you'll notice something surprising. You're not lost. You're just unused to being in charge. For a long time, decisions were made for you by habit, fear, routine, and momentum. Now, choice feels heavy because it's yours again. Responsibility returns. And responsibility can feel scarier than captivity, because now you can't blame the cage, but this is also where power lives. Power isn't loud. It's not dramatic. It's the calm certainty that you are steering, even when the road is unclear. It's the quiet confidence of someone who knows they are no longer sleepwalking through their days. You will still have doubts. Doubt doesn't disappear when you're doing the right thing. It often gets louder. That's because doubt is a test, not a verdict. It asks, are you serious about this? And every time you keep going, you answer without words. Progress will look boring from the outside. No instant transformation. No overnight success. No movie montage moments. Just repetition. Just showing up. Just choosing again and again not to hand your life back to autopilot. That's how freedom actually works. Not as a feeling, but as a practice. Some days you'll feel inspired. Many days you won't. The difference now is that you don't wait for feelings to decide for you. You move based on values. On direction. On the quiet agreement you made with yourself to stop disappearing. You'll notice your tolerance changing. For conversations that go nowhere. For environments that drain you. For commitments that don't align. What once felt normal will start to feel heavy. That's not arrogance. That's clarity. Clarity can be lonely at first. When you stop playing the same roles, some people won't recognize you anymore. Not because you changed into someone worse, but because you stopped being who they needed you to be. Let them be confused. You don't owe consistency to a version of yourself that was built for survival. What you owe is honesty. Honesty about what energizes you. Honesty about what exhausts you. Honesty about what you want your days to feel like, not just what they look like. The kidnapping thrives on postponement. One day is its favorite word. One day you'll start. One day you'll be brave. One day you'll live differently. One day is a beautiful lie, because it feels hopeful while stealing the present, so choose today. Not a perfect today. Not a fearless today. Just a real one. Take one action that aligns with the life you want, even if it's small. especially if it's small. Small actions are harder for fear to block. They slip through unnoticed and slowly weaken the walls. Send the message, write the first page, learn the first skill, set the boundary, take the walk, say no, say yes, no fireworks. No applause. Just movement, and here's the quiet truth at the center of all of this. You were never trapped because you were incapable. You were trapped because you were powerful enough to adapt to almost anything, even a life that wasn't meant for you. Now it's time to adapt in a different direction. The kidnapping doesn't end with a single decision. It ends with 1,000 small refusals to give yourself away again. Refuse to rush your life just because others are rushing theirs. Refuse to measure your worth by productivity alone. Refuse to confuse comfort with peace. Refuse to forget that you are still becoming. This isn't about becoming extraordinary. It's about becoming intentional, and intention, once chosen, changes everything. And here is where it all comes together, quietly, without drama. One day, you'll wake up and nothing will look dramatically different. The same room. The same responsibilities. The same world moving at the same speed. But something inside you will be steadier. Less rushed. Less desperate for distraction. Less willing to betray yourself for comfort. That's how you'll know the kidnapping truly failed, not because life became perfect, but because you stopped giving it away. You'll notice how your choices feel heavier now. But also cleaner. You think before saying yes. You pause before numbing out. You feel the cost of wasting time more sharply, not with guilt, but with respect. Respect for your future self. You'll start choosing alignment over approval, even when it's awkward. Even when it costs you familiarity. Even when no one notices. Especially when no one notices. And something else will happen that no one warned you about. You'll begin to trust yourself again, not blind confidence. Not arrogance. But a quiet trust built from evidence. Evidence that when things felt hard, you didn't run. Evidence that when fear showed up, you didn't hand over the steering wheel. Evidence that you honored your word to yourself. Even in small ways, that kind of trust changes how you move through the world. You stop chasing motivation and start building momentum. You stop waiting for permission and start acting from conviction. You stop asking, "What if I fail?" and start asking, "What if I don't try?" Failure loses its power when you realize regret is heavier. You'll still have ordinary days. Boring days. Difficult days. This message was never about escaping reality. It was about meeting it awake. Fully present. Fully responsible. Fully alive. And on the hardest days, because they will come, you'll remember this: you are no longer trapped by accident. You are choosing, even when the choice is uncomfortable. That's freedom. Freedom isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It shows up as peace in moments that used to trigger panic. as boundaries that no longer feel cruel, as discipline that no longer feels like punishment, as a life that feels owned instead of endured. You won't talk about it much. You won't need to. Your actions will speak quietly for you, and one day, someone else will look at you and feel unsettled in a familiar way. Not jealous. Not threatened. Just reminded. Reminded of something they put on hold inside themselves. And without saying a word, you'll become proof that escape was possible all along, not because you were special, but because you stopped cooperating with the lie that this was all there was. So if you stayed until the end of this message, don't treat it as content. Treat it as a line in the sand. A moment of recognition. A reminder that your life is not meant to be managed away until it's over. The kidnapping only succeeds when you forget you have a choice. You haven't forgotten, and now, it can't win.